we're here. You guessed it, we're at the shop. But we got the Red Z back in here. After this car, we are going to be jumping onto that at 240 that I took the transmission out of the other day. But first, on the Red Z, what we're going to do is we're going to replace the clutch master cylinder and the clutch slave cylinder right here. So we went through this thing, and wow, I'm getting in the wrong side. I'm so used to these JDM cars. But getting into this car, we can start it up, it'll run, do all the good stuff now. We definitely have to get the steering aligned because this is where the steering wheel sits right now and the wheels are straight. So a little, like, to show you guys what's going on with this thing, make sure it's in neutral because I don't want it to roll forward or anything. But it'll start up. And then when you try to put it into gear, my foot is to the floor with the clutch. Nothing happens. So what's going on with that is Roberto thinks the clutch master or the slave cylinder went bad just from sitting so long. Remember, the car sat for about 7 years at the owner's house, and then it sat here for probably another like 2-3 months just in us waiting on parts and taking out the motor, waiting on more parts and doing all that stuff, getting super busy on other big projects. You know how it goes if you own your own shop. But this car, that's just the reason why these two things went bad. So we're going to replace these two. Then we're going to jump on to that 240 and do some stuff on that, and I will tell you guys what we're doing on that in a little while. But let's go ahead, get this stuff done, see what other little things I can hook up on this thing, and yeah, move on to the next thing. So guys, this was actually pretty easy to take off. There's one vacuum line right there that connects right there, and then there was two 12mm bolts right there, and then this thing just pulls right off. This is actually a new one. The old one is actually over here. This one does look pretty beat up. I'm not sure if the seal was bad in there or whatnot, but that's pretty easy. Came right off. So now what I'm going to do, put this one on, go underneath, drain all the fluid out of it, put the new slave cylinder on right here, and then we will commence the bleeding process and get this thing all ready to drive around again so that it can actually move under its own power instead of like trying to figure out how to move it, push it or something like that. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay guys, so after bleeding this thing a couple times and trying to get the pedal to work, it still doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this thing sit here and wait for Roberto to get in today. I personally think it's something to do with the booster with the car. It wasn't the actual master cylinder or the slave cylinder that was bad. I think it was the booster that's bad. But that's just my for instance of it, because it doesn't give you that, like, when you press on a brake pedal and the motor is on, it gives you like a, not like a whooshing sound like a turbo, but like a vacuum sound of the booster like working. And when you press the clutch on this, it just doesn't make any sound. It just goes straight to the floor basically. So I'm gonna let Roberto look at this thing and see what he thinks about it. The other little problem that we had was that in here, you're not gonna be able to see it, but down there was the AC compressor and all of the little accessories like the extra pulley that goes with the AC. And that extra pulley was actually hitting its mounting bracket. Roberto thought I didn't put it together right. I obviously put it together right. It's not that hard. It's a nut, a bolt, a couple washers. So that went on properly. The thing that was wrong with it was that the actual pulley got a little bent, like it hit something and got a little notch in it and it was hitting when it was going around. So I fixed that, put it in a vise, squeezed it back together, got it into its good shape again, and just fixed that. So like I said, that's going to be waiting for Roberto to take a look at it and see what he thinks of it later on. But now we have the gray 240 or tan 240 with a carbon fiber hood back in the shop. And what he wants to do is he wants this old tan dash out and he wants to put this dash that is in here in. I think he wants to put black carpet in. That's what this stuff is too. So there's a lot coming ahead of me. I have to take the entire interior out of this car, which, looking at it, it shouldn't actually be that hard. There is no back seats in it. So there's no back seats. There's only 2 driver seats. Half the panels are taken off in this car. So really thinking about it, this actually should be pretty easy to do. So we're going to jump on this thing today. I'm going to do a tiny time lapse of me taking out the seats and taking out all of the good stuff that he wants us to put into the car. And I'm just going to cut it at that. This is taking out a dash. I should kind of record this. I don't know. I might. I don't know. We'll see. So we're going to take all this stuff out, and then we're going to work on this today and see what we got going on. So let's go ahead and get on to this. All of 10 minutes to get all of that stuff out. Wasn't that much. It was just the stuff that he wants in and the 2 seats. So now comes a little bit more tricky part of taking the center console and this dash all out. So let's go ahead and get to that. So guys, while taking some of the interior out may have taken a couple minutes, taking the actual dash part out is taking a lot longer than you would expect. The ring, the bezel that goes around the actual gauge cluster, took a couple minutes to get out. That thing was super hard. I ended up just moving the whole steering column down, taking the bolts out, and now I'm having trouble getting the actual dash itself out. Like, the whole thing is loose, but the AC is giving me problems. So I think I'm going to actually take the whole AC unit out and kind of like let it sit and hang down underneath, and then I'm going to just pull the dash out and see what happens with that. But this thing's pretty complicated to get out. I'm just trying to think of how much work it's going to be to get mine out, and like, I'm going to do it before I do anything else. Make sure everything's super simple and easy to take off. Can put things in nice and easy, because it's going to be a drift car, so things should be easy on it. I don't need it to be super complicated for myself for when I go to like do something on it. So that's what I'm going to do with this, or with that. But this, I'm going to just take this AC unit out now and see what I can get going on with that, because I want this dash out in like a little bit so that I can get the other one in and start buttoning everything back up and putting it all back together. This is what had happened yesterday. Was why I didn't post is because last night after we went to go look and get my surprise, we didn't actually get it. It's going to be at the end of this video why we didn't get it and this and that. But after that, I felt super sick when we were on our way back. I just wanted to go home and lay down and rest, which is what I did. I just took the rest of the night off. It was already like 10 something at night. It was super late. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go home. I felt super bad. My friend Jay needed his fenders rolled, so we're going to do that tonight. But that's what happened last night. I'm sorry, guys, about not posting about that. But whatever. We are back onto the Tan 240. The carpet will be in today. I have to cut up around the tunnel up there just a tad bit more, and I have to get the dash in, get all these nuts and bolts back in here, and just tuck everything back underneath the way it was so that it all makes sense. So let's go ahead and get to putting in the rest of this stuff. So guys, what's been going on is Gary just stopped by. The guy with the white SC300. He just stopped by, grabbed some stuff out of his car. So the 240 is actually outside right now. The carpet is in, the dash is in, the kick panels need to go back in, and a couple other little things, the center console, and some bezeling around the steering column and some other little stuff like that. But that's what I'm going to be doing a little bit later. Right now I'm actually going to go home, eat, then come back, help Dan out with the SC, and finish up this thing up to the point where like we're waiting on other parts from the guy. So that's what I'm doing with this. I'm actually going to stop the video and end now, edit, and then do all that while I'm at home. But that's what I'm going to do later on, and I'll get a jump on tomorrow's video. But if you guys liked the video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, comment, share, do all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So guys, this is the surprise that I got. It's a G37 coupe. Rob was I'm very thankful to Rob for just letting me have this thing. It has some water damage and an electrical problem, which we're trying to figure out. We're trying to get this thing tonight and bring it back to the shop so that I can start going through it tomorrow afternoon when I get done with everything, but I don't really know how that's going right now. We're trying to figure it out. The electrical problem giving us some trouble, so we're gonna end up figuring out, but this thing's actually super sick. A lot of steel and stuff on it. It's got some nice wheels on it. Nice like 5-spoke wheels. So this thing will be the new daily probably. I'm gonna keep the Beamer. I'm gonna drive this thing, and I have the 180 to work on. So we're gonna hopefully get this thing running and driving around soon. Stay tuned.